I was the son no one noticed, so why did everyone run to me when I finally succeeded? The silence of being invisible is the loudest sound in the world, and for 2 decades, I lived entirely inside that deafening quiet. I'm Aiden, 34. My parents, Eleanor, 65, and Richard, 68, were, and still are, brilliant, successful people. My father, a renowned vascular surgeon, was a man whose presence filled every room. My mother, a vibrant abstract artist, commanded attention just by the movement of her hands. Their passion, their success, and their overwhelming personalities created a gravitational field that sucked all the light away from me. Then there were my siblings. My older sister, Chloe, 37, was the golden child, the Olympic-level swimmer, the effortless academic, the gorgeous social butterfly. My younger brother, Leo, 30, was the creative genius, the musician, the rebel, the one who caused enough dramatic trouble to earn constant, if frustrated, attention. And then there was me. I was the bridge between them, the quiet, meticulous kid who did exactly what he was told, achieved high but predictable grades, and caused absolutely no fuss. I was the unflavored oatmeal in a family of gourmet spices. Dinner table conversations were a constant, dynamic tennis match between my parents and siblings, all vying for the narrative. I existed to pass the salt, clear the plates, and absorb the ambient energy. When I finally left for university, my mother forgot I had moved out until 3 weeks later when she asked where my laundry pile had gone. It wasn't malicious, it was simply factual. I was the son no one noticed. My entire life, I craved just one thing: recognition, a feeling of being valued for my own presence, not just my utility. This deep-seated invisibility became my engine. The profound life lesson I learned early on was simple: love and attention are not naturally given, they must be undeniably earned through undeniable spectacle. I chose my career path as a direct response to this neglect. While Chloe was chasing Olympic gold and Leo was mastering the cello, I was quietly studying data architecture and complex algorithmic trading. It was invisible work, perfect for the son no one noticed. But I knew its potential. I poured my isolation and all the ambient energy I had absorbed from my family's striving into my work. My quiet nature meant I was relentless, focused, and utterly unsentimental about risk. I didn't care about the fame, I cared about the power to command attention. I launched my company, Nexus Analytics, in a small, windowless office when I was 28. For 6 years, the silence continued. My parents knew I worked in tech, or finance, vaguely proud that I was stable, which meant I wasn't asking them for money or causing trouble. There were no articles, no awards, no public performances, just the slow, steady accumulation of vast, almost unbelievable wealth. I achieved true financial success, the kind measured in triple-digit millions, by the time I was 33. I bought a sprawling estate outside the city, a place designed to be a fortress of solitude. I didn't flaunt it, I simply existed inside it, comfortable in my self-made silence. I remember thinking, I have everything I ever wanted, total independence and absolute power. But I still have no audience. The turning point wasn't a sudden IPO or feature in Forbes. It was entirely mundane, yet completely public, like an unintentional signal flare sent from my private fortress. A small local article about my recent, discreet donation to the city's underfunded library system mentioned the size of the gift and, more importantly, included the net worth valuation of Nexus Analytics. The number was staggering, placed right there in black and white, $450 million. The article was shared on a small town forum, then picked up by a major regional business blog, and within 24 hours, the news spread like wildfire through the privileged circles my family inhabited. Suddenly, the gravitational field shifted. The first person to call wasn't my father, the surgeon, nor my mother, the artist. It was Chloe, the golden child. I hadn't spoken to Chloe in 3 months, not since her last birthday. Her message was long, effusive, and jarringly personal. She didn't mention the money directly. She spoke about the profound stress of her recent career change, away from swimming and into sports marketing, and how she really needed my advice and my insight into scaling a brand quickly. She needed my unique perspective. The sister who once ignored my existence now saw me as a strategic asset. Then came Leo, my little brother, the creative genius, called 3 times, leaving frantic voicemails. He wasn't asking for advice, he was asking for funding. His latest musical venture, a fusion of classical cello and electronic beats, was at a critical point. He needed a major capital injection to launch his vision. He stressed that only a fellow visionary like me could possibly understand the artistic scale of the project. He saw me as a bank, but wrapped the request in the language of shared genius. And finally, my parents. My father, Richard, called with a deep, resonant, and entirely unfamiliar warmth. He didn't congratulate me on the money, he congratulated me on my focus and dedication. He told me how he always knew I had the quiet intensity of a true builder. He confessed that his hospital foundation was running a crucial campaign to acquire new surgical robots and that a man of my resources would be an essential figure in achieving their goal. He wanted me to host a major fundraising gala. The invisibility was gone. I was now the essential financial instrument in the family orchestra. I was the son no one noticed, so why did everyone run to me when I finally succeeded? Because the visibility of wealth was the only currency they recognized. What would you do in this situation? Would you ignore the calls and revel in your hard-won solitude, or would you use your newfound visibility to demand the respect you craved? The influx of attention was intoxicating, yet bitterly ironic. It wasn't Aiden, the quiet, meticulous man they saw. It was Aiden, the $450 million man. I decided to play the game. I accepted the calls. I met them for dinner. Not at my house, the fortress, but at the most exclusive restaurants, places they usually reserved for their own celebrated achievements. The shift in dynamic was palpable. At the dinner table, the tennis match was over. Now, every conversation started and ended with me. When Chloe spoke about her marketing struggles, she didn't just ask for advice, she waited breathlessly for my response, treating every casual observation as if it were a profound corporate strategy. When Leo passionately described his musical vision, he watched my facial expressions for approval, not his parents'. He deferred to my financial opinion on the feasibility of his artistic dreams. My parents, who once cut me off mid-sentence to discuss their own careers, now leaned in, listening intently to my stories about market shifts and data modeling, even though they understood none of it. They treated me with a deference I had never witnessed before, a combination of awe and slight intimidation. I finally had their attention. I had achieved my lifelong goal. But the emotional reality was flat. It was synthetic. I felt absolutely nothing but a cold sense of confirmation. They love the spectacle of success, not the man who created it. The deeper life lesson emerged from the disappointment. External validation is always conditional. The moment the spectacle ends, the audience leaves. The requests became more direct, more expensive, and more entitled. Chloe's request for advice swiftly turned into a request for a $1 million seed investment to secure her first major client. She reasoned that it wasn't charity, it was a smart strategic partnership that would benefit my brand's association with a champion. The invisibility of the past allowed her to view our entire relationship as transactional. Leo's artistic vision required $500,000 for a world-class studio and tour launch. He argued that since I had achieved so much security, my moral duty as the successful older brother was to fund the creativity that kept the family vibrant. He saw my success as an indemnity fund for the family's pursuit of happiness. My parents' gala required a $10 million anchor donation, using my name as the primary benefactor. This wasn't just fundraising, it was a demand for me to permanently stamp my existence onto their legacy, using my wealth to legitimize their foundation's goals. The tension rose to a breaking point during a tense Sunday lunch at my sister's house, which was notably humble compared to my fortress. They were discussing the potential investment in Leo's music. I finally asked the question that had been burning inside me for 20 years. When I needed help with my business, when I was working 18 hours a day, sleeping on a futon, and nearly broke, none of you ever asked how I was. You never called. Why is that? The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Chloe looked down at her plate. Leo fidgeted with his wine glass. My father cleared his throat, ready to deploy the corporate defense. My father, Richard, spoke first. He said that since I was so quiet and stable, they always assumed I was fine, and that they had to focus on the children who needed active nurturing, meaning Chloe with her sports pressures and Leo with his creative volatility. My mother, Eleanor, offered a painful justification. She said they thought I was destined for success anyway, and that my quiet genius simply didn't need the external encouragement that her artists did. It was the ultimate confirmation of the emotional truth. I was overlooked precisely because I was too compliant, too predictable, and caused no spectacular distress. I was the low-maintenance appliance of the family, only to be serviced when it was needed for heavy lifting. If you had the power and wealth to crush the dreams of the family members who neglected you, would you seek revenge by refusing their requests, or would you use your resources to force a genuine, non-transactional connection? I drove home that night, the engine of my car providing the only sound in the emptiness. I was furious, but beneath the fury was a vast, cold sorrow. I had achieved everything, only to find that the prize, their recognition, was utterly worthless because it wasn't for me. I sat in my fortress and looked at the cold, hard numbers. I had the power to make them crawl, to teach them a lesson in humility, to finally punish them for 2 decades of invisibility. But I realized that revenge wouldn't buy me love, it would only buy me isolation. True happiness wasn't found in commanding attention, it was found in finding the value of my own presence, regardless of the audience. The final, essential life lesson dawned on me: the only validation that matters is the one you grant yourself. My wealth was not a tool for revenge or conditional attention, it was simply a resource I had earned. I decided to make the final investment. I did not give Chloe the $1 million for her marketing firm. Instead, I sent her a detailed 50-page breakdown of how she could restructure her business model for long-term, sustainable growth without my cash, adding a personalized, handwritten note emphasizing that her resilience in swimming was the only strategy she needed. I invested in her strength, not her business. I did not fund Leo's tour. I sent him the contact information for a small, respected venture capitalist who specialized in artistic funding, along with a note telling him that his music was strong enough to stand on its own and needed validation from the market, not from his older brother's checkbook. I invested in his independence, not his dependence. And I did not host the gala for my parents. Instead, I quietly donated $5 million anonymously to a small, rural surgical charity my father had dismissed as insignificant, a charity focused on equitable care, not flashy robots. I wanted them to use their own influence and prestige to earn the rest of the funds they needed, forcing them to rely on their community, not my money. My final act was the purest expression of my true self, a quiet, meticulous realignment of the world, designed to help them stand on their own merits, forcing them to value effort over easy capital. I never achieved the genuine, unconditional love I craved from them, but I found peace. I shifted my focus from earning their attention to earning my own respect. I started volunteering at the local library, the one I funded, mentoring young entrepreneurs, teaching them that the true value of their work lies in the process, not the spectacle. I still see my family, but the dynamic is healthier now. They treat me with respect, born from the fact that they know I possess immense power but choose to use it with quiet integrity. They still don't fully understand the quiet man, Aiden, but they finally respect the principles he stands for. I was the son no one noticed, and when everyone finally ran to me, I ran in the opposite direction, toward a quiet, self-validated life. I want to know what you think. If you finally gained the ultimate power over the people who neglected you, would you use that power to force them to change, or would you use it to change yourself? Let me know your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.